El tema de hoy es Francisco José de Goya y Lucentes, nuestro pintor moderno, quien nació en el año 1746. Tuvo una vida bastante difícil porque en algún momento en su vida se puso muy enfermo. Y esa enfermedad cambió su vida. Nació en Zaragoza, España, así se lo dicen, Zaragoza. Y es conocido por ser el rebelde. ¿Qué significa rebelde? Eso es un cognado.
Rebel.
Ajá, rebel. Y van a saber por qué. Es el primer pintor moderno. What is a rebel? What does a rebel do? When we call somebody a rebel, what's the reason?
They are rebelling against something.
And what does that mean? So without using the word, so what does it mean to rebel against something?
You typically go against like the rules.
Yeah, go against the rules, kind of do whatever they want, right? Not listening to whatever they should be listening to. All right, so we'll learn about why he is known as El Rebelde. Again, if you guys are interested, so there's a lot of these words that we're going to be using in the discussion today. You can open the PowerPoint so that you can go back to these slides on your own, or if you want to screenshot this page real quick so you have that to reference, you're welcome to. And then we'll move on. Sí, like mi gata es un rebelde que no me hace caso. She does what she wants. No. All right. Entonces, el tema de hoy, Francisco de Goya y Lucentes es el pintor del siglo XVIII, como ya hemos dicho. La pregunta esencial para hoy, that you're copying down, es ¿cuáles eventos de la historia y de su propia vida, recuerden la palabra propia, de su propia vida, influyeron el arte de Goya?
Maybe he had a bad run-in with a horse and he began to paint horses in a very unflattering manner.
No, no fue eso. Vamos a aprender lo que fue.
Perhaps, I think I did my background research. He was an artist for, I think once again, another king, and he was in two kings actually. And then he was in charge of like drawing this like giant tapestry. And I think what he did was he was supposed to do this like cartoony and just kind of like depict what was happening. And he decided to look at the poverty going on within the country and look at the bad parts of the country rather than the good.
There's my lesson. Sí, así es. So we're going to learn about the events in history and his own life that influenced his artwork exactly, and the work that he did for the king, as well as tapestries. So, primero, como ya saben, nació en Zaragoza, que es una provincia en Aragón. Es una parte de Aragón, España. Velázquez fue una fuente de inspiración para Goya. Y como nos dijo Maddie, era un pintor de caricaturas para tapices. So this word tapices, los tapices es muy importante. The beginning of his life, this was an important part. So los tapices, who screenshotted the vocab screen and wants to tell us what los tapices are?
Tapestry.
Uh-huh. And what is a tapestry?
Isn't it like a long piece of cloth, and technically on that cloth, or I guess it's like condensed paper, and you can roll it up or you can hang it up, and it just like normally it describes like something in history that people can look back on.
So there's several different kinds, right? So nowadays the tapestries are a little bit more thin. Back in the day they were more like carpet thick, like as thick as a rug, and you hang them on the wall for decoration, but also for like back in the day to keep the house warm, like insulation sort of. So if you could even Google tapestry, and then let's go to images. am presenting my screen, right? Yeah, okay. So here's all different types of tapestries. These are the ones that are more modern. And then, you know, these are here's an older kind, right? And so they're thick like a rug, okay? So when it says, era un pintor de caricaturas para tapices, did he paint the tapestries? No. Lo que hizo es, déjame encontrar papel, Goya creó una pintura y luego dio la pintura a los tejedores, the weavers, y los tejedores usaron este diseño para formar los tapices. ¿Comprenden?
Sí.
Okay, entonces, so he didn't paint the tapestries. What did he do?
He like drew what he wanted on the tapestry or what was asked of him to go on the tapestry, and then some weavers would sew whatever he had originally and then put it on the tapestry.
Yeah, so it was like the models, the designs, what else you would call it, he would give to the weavers, and they would transform his paintings onto tapestries. And so,
Question. So when it says caricaturas, are you know, normally when we think of caricatures, we think of like people with like giant heads.
yes, not that. So we'll see. We're going to see
So
some.
what is like the definition of the caricatures?
So just daily life of the Spaniards. So like representing the daily life. So here it's at varios temas. So he had several different themes to his artwork throughout his life. So it started with representaciones de la vida diaria para los tapices. Y luego los temas cambiaron. El tema cambió según eventos en la historia y eventos en su vida. So we'll get to the caricaturas en un momento. Okay. Varios temas a su arte. Las pinturas que usaron para los tapices representaban la vida diaria, la vida normal de los españoles. Representaba la vida diaria de los españoles. Okay, es difícil hacer una línea estrecha. Okay. Y también representaba la corte real. Varios temas. Oh, this is where I could use my number. Okay. Aquí ves. La fábrica de tapices de Santa Bárbara es el nombre de la fábrica donde trabajaba por muchos años. Fábrica es un cognado falso. It looks like fabric, but it means factory, so it's a false cognate. Entre 1774 y 92, sus obras de arte representaban temas diarios, específicamente de la gente de Madrid. Podemos ver la influencia de Velázquez en sus obras. En el fondo, específicamente en el fondo. ¿Y cómo así? Yo les voy a decir mucho, ¿cómo así? How so? ¿Dónde podemos ver la influencia de Velázquez? ¿Dónde vemos la influencia de Velázquez? ¿Qué hay en el fondo de la pintura? No en el primer plano, pero ya.
Es moderna y luz. Oh,
Sí,
como
la luz.
la luz es reflejado.
Ok, luz, ya, sí, luz reflejada. Entonces podemos ver la luz aquí en el cielo, the light in the sky. Y aquí, ¿qué hay en el fondo? ¿Esos qué son? Montañas, ¿verdad? Entonces la naturaleza, so we see the influence of nature, which it was an influence for Velázquez. So that we see the influence of Velázquez in the background of these paintings. Okay. En esas obras, las obras para los tapices, era muy importante incluir una separación de colores. Separación de colores. Es decir, que tenía que ser bien claro dónde termina un color y empieza otro color. Para ayudar a los tejedores, las personas que hacían, los tejedores son las personas que hacían los tapices. Y voy a mostrarles otro cuadro. Entonces, eso es una caricatura. Es como una escena de la vida normal. El quitasol. Ok, entonces aquí es un mejor ejemplo que podemos ver aquí la línea muy clara donde termina el azul. Donde termina el azul y donde empieza el amarillo, donde termina amarillo y empieza el blanco. Entonces es muy obvio dónde cambian los colores. ¿Entienden? ¿Por qué fue importante separar los colores así? ¿Qué piensan? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué era necesario no mezclar los colores mucho?
So things like stand out.
Ok, sí, eso también. ¿Y qué más? ¿Para qué fueron esas pinturas? What were these for? What were these paintings made for?
The king?
Not so they, well, yes, so later on the king used some of them, but
Didn't they like keep the house warm or something
what
like
keep
that?
the paintings keep the house warm? Or what?
The tapestries, so
Tapestries.
had to put them on the wall, and if he mixed the colors, it would be hard to like make the tapestry like thick to keep it warm.
Eso mismo, right? So not just hard to make the tapestry thick, but also, can you blend thread the same way you can blend paints? No. So you guys are all on the right track, right? So because these paintings were made for the weavers, that the weavers were turning into tapestries, it was important that he included a separation of colors in these artworks. These pieces of these paintings, these works of art. Okay, y en esos cuadros, esas pinturas, nos muestra la forma de vida, la moda, fashion, y costumbres. Costumbres es otro cognado falso. Costumbres significa customs, right? So the customs and daily life of the Spaniards, specifically those in Madrid. Okay. Aquí tenemos otros ejemplos. Las floreras, muchachos trepando un árbol. El columpio. Entonces, miren esas obras de arte. Podemos ver la familia que está aquí en el parque, jugando con los niños. Aquí una familia, o sea, amigos que están haciendo un picnic. Muchachos trepando un árbol. Columpios. Entonces, escenas de la vida normal. The scenes from daily life. Podemos ver la influencia de Velázquez en el fondo. The background here. La naturaleza. Okay. Observen esta pintura. Un momento. Okay. Just take a second to observe this. Voy a regresar un momento. Ok. Entonces, como en algún momento Goya trabajó por el rey Carlos el IV, hizo un retrato de la familia real. Y dicen que eso fue el último de los retratos reales. Y lo que queremos decir de real es más o menos normal. O sea, en una pintura, ¿dónde ponemos normalmente la persona más importante? ¿En qué parte de la pintura vemos la parte más importante? ¿Dónde está el enfoque? Where's the focus for the most important part of the painting in any painting? Normally.
The center.
In el centro, in the middle, right? And in these, back in the day, right, gender roles now are kind of are much more balanced than before. But back in the day, ¿quién manejó la familia? ¿Quién hizo las decisiones? ¿Quién era la persona más importante? Who's the most important person in the family, or the decision maker?
The man.
The man, right? Back in the day, that's how things were. And so the most important figure in a painting, usually the focus is in the middle of the painting, right? So what is Goya portraying here? Subtly, but it's still there. What is he telling us about the royal family, in his opinion?
The queen or the wife or whatever is in the middle, so she's kind of actually the head.
Exacto. So la reina está en el centro. By putting the queen in the middle, he's telling us that she's the one who wore the pants in the family. She made the decisions. She had all the power and all the control. So he's kind of subtly making fun of the royal family. So where it says se burlaba de la familia, he made fun of the royal family in this portrait.
He's being like rebellious. Started being rebellious.
Yeah, so that's definitely starting. Yes. So that's where it says pintaba la familia como era, no como debía ser representado, right? So that's how the royal family actually was. The queen was the one who drove the family. So he painted them that way rather than how it actually should be depicted, right? How society would want to see it. Where do we see the influence of Velázquez? Very
In
specific.
his realism, no?
No, not quite. Because these figures are more like cartoonish. Their faces are more round. They don't look.
I don't know. They're so tiny. I can't not see them.
You're very right. But
That he painted himself into the painting?
Yeah, exacto. He painted himself in the painting back here, right? So Goya is the painter that came in the century after Velázquez, and so he took note of that detail from Las Meninas and included it in his. Okay, so then we get to cuando los tiempos se cambian a ser un poco más oscuro, right? You guys entienden la palabra oscuro, dark? Entonces Goya se puso muy enfermo, y esa enfermedad le dejó sordo. Entonces, sordo es cuando una persona no escucha, no puede escuchar. Ciego, cuando no puedes ver. Mudo, no hablas. Sordo es cuando no puedes oír nada, no puedes escuchar. ¿Comprenden? ¿Qué es sordo? ¿Qué significa en inglés?
Deaf.
Deaf. Ajá. Entonces, su enfermedad le dejó sordo. Ya no estaba feliz. Desapareció la alegría. La alegría desapareció. Los colores en sus obras cambiaron a ser más oscuro. Vemos más negro, gris, blanco, colores así. Y su modo, su estilo de pintar se hizo más libre, más libre. Libre significa free. Libre. So his style became more free, right? Empezó a mostrarnos las debilidades, right? Débil significa weak, so debilidades is weaknesses. So we start to see the weaknesses of people, the sadness, the suffering, the expressions on their face are showing all of the emotions that people are going through during this time. Okay, so here we have, this is one of my favorites. Los Caprichos. If we were in class, I would pass around this book for you guys to see, but obviously we're not, and I don't know where the book is. Pero Los Caprichos es una serie, a series de aguafuertes. Okay. Y el tema de los caprichos es la crítica social. Okay. Y vamos a ver unos ejemplos un poco más claro. Eso se llama No hubo remedio. There's no remedy. Nadie nos ha visto. No one has seen us. ¿Qué sacrificio? What a sacrifice. So let's look at one. ¿Qué sacrificio? Take a second to read this and look at the picture and think about it. Dice, ¿cómo ha de ser el novio? No es de los más apetecibles, pero es rico. Y a costa de la libertad de una niña infeliz, se compra el socorro de una familia hambrienta. Así va el mundo. ¿Qué sacrificio? What a sacrifice. So what is he portraying to us here? Someone raise your hand, I'm not calling you. Who wants to explain this one? Salud. Gracias. A ver, ¿de quién es? Okay, Jessica, go ahead.
He's like portraying how a girl sacrificed her like happiness or like life or whatever.
Mhm.
Not whatever, that's a lot to give up. But
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But yeah, because her family was like poor and in poverty and they needed to eat, so she just married rich.
But so what was wrong with marrying rich?
Well, I mean, she wasn't happy, and it says he wasn't like attractive either.
Exactly. Yep, exactly this. So we have this beautiful woman who it's saying that, what a sacrifice. This beautiful woman has to give up her chance of marrying, her Prince Charming, and instead she marries this old, hunchback man who she's not attracted to, but because he has money, and her family is poor and is hungry. So what a sacrifice that she's giving that up. Exacto. And then así va el mundo. That's how the world goes, is what he's saying here. So that's one example. Here's another one that I like a lot. Nadie se conoce. No one knows themselves. Nadie se conoce. El mundo es una máscara. El rostro, el traje y la voz. Todo es fingido. Todos quieren aparentar lo que no son. Todos engañan y nadie se conoce.
Is
Yeah.
in the vocab?
I'm sorry?
Is engañan in the vocab?
No, and several of these words are not. So engañar is like to betray, to cheat, to betray. If you watch a lot of novelas, you'll hear that word a lot. So the world is a mask. The face, the voice, everything is faked. Everyone wants to appear to be what they are not. Everyone betrays each other, and no one really knows themselves. Here's another one. Dios la perdone y era su mamá. So this one, I believe, I haven't read it in a couple years. I believe, and we don't have time to talk too much, but so here's this girl who came from a struggling family. She moved away, became successful, and then she's walking down the streets of her hometown, passes a homeless lady who's reaching out for help and doesn't give her the time of day, only to, realize that it was her mom that was begging in the streets that she walked away from. And then here's two more. So two more. Lo merecía, from Disasters of War. Lo peor es pedir, the worst is to beg, from The Famine. Right. So Goya got super sick. It left him deaf. He felt isolated from the world. The things are changing in history. We're getting into a war, and things are just kind of turning darker for him. There were some failed love affairs, a wife, I think his wife passed away. And so we get into the changing of his style, right? Los Caprichos is the series of these etchings. right? The theme, la crítica social, social criticism. And then we get into what's going on in the world, in the nation or the state around him, right? Sufrimiento, suffering, sufrimiento y realismo. Napoleon invadió a España. Y en las obras de Goya, Goya empezó a mostrar los horrores y el terror de la guerra. La guerra es una palabra que deberían saber. La guerra, war. Los españoles se rebelaron contra los franceses en este tiempo. Entonces, igual como a hoy día, so just like today, right? When the news is reporting on war or war or attacks that are happening, they don't show us the bloodshed battles or the real scenes from it, right? They try and kind of hide that. It's taboo to really depict those things, and especially in those times. But Goya, como era el rebelde, he didn't care what people wanted to see, and he painted what he wanted to paint instead, right? And so he starts to show us the horrors of the war, the terrors, everything that's happening, and specifically from the point of view of the victims. So look at this example. We're almost at the end. El 2 de Mayo. ¿Cuál es el color más fuerte en esa obra? ¿Qué color es lo más fuerte? Amarillo, verde, azul, negro, rojo, gris, morado, café, rosado. ¿Qué color es lo más fuerte?
Probably either the rojo or verde.
Yeah, so el rojo, right? Lo que vemos mucho es el rojo, que representa la sangre, blood, right? So we see this whole painting, the majority we see the most bold color that we see is red, right? Representing the bloodshed. We have the man falling off the horse. We've got a dead body over here with a sword on the ground. We've got somebody attacking or getting ready to attack here, right? And so he's representing the Spanish rebels attacking the Napoleon guards. So she's really showing us the gruesomeness of what was going on. And again, from the perspective of the victims, El 2 de Mayo. And here's one that goes with it. El 3 de Mayo de 1808. Just take a second to look at this one. Think how you would describe it. ¿Qué hay en el fondo? En el fondo, ¿qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto?
They're like killing innocent people.
Yeah, so están matando a los inocentes. ¿Y eso aquí en el fondo qué es?
Is it El Castillo?
Okay, parece un castillo.
Or is it like a church or something?
Es una iglesia. Y normalmente la iglesia nos da esperanza, right? So a church is like a sign of hope, like as if in the middle of all of this chaos, there's still some sort of hope left. But it's dark instead of being, bright and really shining on that hope. What's the most, the focus of this painting is in the middle, right? Of the guy holding his arms up, the victim, surrendering almost, represents sort of mimicking the form of Jesus on the cross, right? We see the bodies of the victims on the ground, and the bloodshed. Okay, so here's some of the things that we see. He's showing in this painting, El 3 de Mayo, la inhumanidad de las ejecuciones, todos los cuerpos llenos de sangre. Hay una ausencia de colores y la iglesia oscuro que está en el fondo. El 3 de mayo de 1808. Right. So Goya got sick, he's deaf, he feels isolated, things that are going wrong in his life. He doesn't care what people want to see. He starts painting whatever his heart desires. There's war going on, so his paintings have taken a dark turn. We get to the still life paintings that he creates. Los bodegones de animales muertos. que nos muestra la degradación y la muerte. So this is a still life with a dead turkey. Then the next one we see is a lomo, costillas de un lomo, is the ribs of a lamb in the next one. And then we get to his last series, which I'll change the slide in a second. So at some point, Goya was exiled from Spain for his works. And he was afraid that the government was going to destroy his paintings because they went against the grain. They were so taboo. And so what's the best way to make sure no one can destroy your paintings? Paint them somewhere permanent, huh?
See.
Yeah, paint them somewhere permanent. So what better way to make sure that no one destroys your paintings than the walls of your house? So la casa de Goya tenía el nombre de la Quinta del Sordo, the house of the deaf. That was the name of his house. Y decidió decorar las paredes, the walls, las paredes, con murales de pinturas de una serie que se llamaba Las Pinturas Negras. Esa se llama Saturno devorando a un hijo. So Saturn devouring his son, I guess, is a mythological scene. And they were just, I mean, nightmare images. So, like, could you imagine opening your front door, walking into your living room, and seeing this as a mural in your house? I mean, he just totally se volvió loco. Okay, so Las Pinturas Negras, a series of murals that he painted in the walls of his house. All right, so let's go ahead and do our summary. Escribe las dos oraciones de lo que te interesaba. Write your el resumen. And then I'll tell you guys what we're going to paint. So Goya is one of the two artists that we cover that is kind of crazy. Although Goya is crazy in a dark sort of way, whereas another artist we'll cover is crazy in a just bizarre kind of way.